Hey, what's going on, guys? Alright, so yesterday this bad boy here arrived in the mail for me. Many of you guys might recognize this from my Facebook group, Wolf Customs. This is Joe Hunnicutt's new custom knife called the Patriarch, which is translated head to male. This is Joe's first custom knife, and I think he did a real good job on the design of it. He used good quality material. This is 01 tool steel. Has a hardness of about 15, has a Rockwell hardness of about 59. The thickness of the blade is kind of neat because, you know, most knives nowadays are 1/8 inch, 3/16, or a whopping 1/4 inch. Joe actually went with a 5/32, which I thought was pretty cool because sometimes 3/16 can be a little big and 1/8 inch may not be enough for some people. For myself, I actually tend to enjoy the 1/8 inch size, but 3/16 at times is handy as well. So I thought it was neat that he kind of went right down the middle and went with 5/32. Now, my first impressions of this knife is I told Joe, or rather Joe told me, that if I put this knife on video, that it was absolutely necessary that I tell the truth 100% no matter what. If I thought it was junk, say it was junk. But my first impressions of this knife, or as I do actually like it, like I said, the style of it is very unique. And when I first grabbed it, it does feel relatively good in the hand. And I'll tell you what, the moment that you choke up on it, it just feels like an extension of your hand. I have found that I kind of just want to carry it around like this. It just feels very, very comfortable and very, very right. And I cannot wait to get this thing outside and do some work with it. I have not actually cut anything with this knife yet. The marks that you see on here are from Joe testing it prior to sending it. And as far as the stains and stuff on the blade goes, he asked me if I wanted the knife to be pretty and shiny, or if I wanted him just to go ahead and throw a hot patina or hot vinegar patina on it. And I told him just go ahead and put the hot vinegar patina on it because it's going to get dirty anyway. I mean, I plan on using this knife. The other upside to this knife for me is it's a good size for an EDC. In my local state, you can carry a concealed knife as long as the blade does not extend past 4 inches. So with this knife here, I believe the cutting area is about 3.5 inches, which is actually very nice for someone like me. And I do have the luxury of carrying a full-sized knife on my person every single day, including work. So that's very nice. Like I said, I haven't cut anything with this thing yet, but the edge feels pretty dang good. Really bites into my nail, doesn't slip. And I don't feel any chips or any nicks. See how it does on a piece of paper here. Very good edge on that thing. I have no doubt that that will pop hair off my arm like crazy. Oh yeah, it's just literally making that hair want to pop off, and I'm not gonna shave myself like a shaved monkey. Okay, so I'm gonna put this knife to the test today. Well, actually probably over the next couple days. But the first thing I'm going to test out is food prep. Okay, you guys have heard me say it before, but I'm going to say it again. When it comes to food prep, one of the most important things that your knife can accomplish is cutting your meat very thin in order to preserve that food, in a long-term situation, such as drying and smoking out your meat. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this tri-tip and I'm going to cut it up, and we're going to see how thin of slices I can get for this, or from this, and I am going to go ahead and smoke and dry this meat. Not quite as thin as what I would like, but it will still work. See if I can get thinner. Bad. That piece will dry and smoke up very nicely. Okay, so doesn't cut as thin as other knives that I've used, but it still does get it thin enough to where it will smoke and it will dry up just fine. So I'm not gonna bore you to death while I cut the rest of this up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up. We'll move on. Okay, so for the sake of argument, let's say now that I've got my meat and everything sliced up thin, now I want to smoke it and dry it. Well, obviously I'm going to have to achieve fire at this point. So let's see if the spine of this knife will allow me to throw good sparks with my ferro rod, see if we can achieve fire. Obviously, I'd say that speaks for itself. Okay, so I'm down by the river, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up some of these dead willow saplings. Or granted, I've already pulled up a few of them, and I've just got them sitting over here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize this laid over tree stump in this wash area, and we'll make a few feather sticks. Bark off right quick. Okay, let's see what she can do here. Alright, now Joe did want me to try a certain technique with it, or something that he found nice, so I'm going to try that as well. And that was simply, he said that he found, instead of going down here, he said that if he found that if he did it like this, that he was really getting some fine cuts or curls. Here again. Tell you what, the fact of the matter is, first time you pick up a knife and try to feather stick with it without ever cutting anything else, you got to get used to that knife. But ultimately, really did a pretty good job on that. And like I was saying earlier, that when you choke up on this thing, it actually does feel really, really good. I am going to go ahead and do another one though, and I'm not going to choke up on it. I'm going to see if there's a difference. So let me grab another stick here.
stick I grabbed is a little too small. It's not allowing me to get really good curls. Alright, I can tell right away that for me personally, it feels better when I choke up on it. When I'm back here and I got that leverage, it's just wanting to bite into it. And it bites in really good. See how far it just pressed right into the wood here. Alright, so let's say that I want to make a primitive trap or something like that. So I'm going to want to start to gather up some of my components. I'm going to walk over here to this tree and I'm going to harvest it and see if I can make a few main components for a trap that I might want to make. so I didn't want to bore you with the whole process there, but basically all I was doing was making a few key components for a trap. Nothing fancy. I'm not actually going to go into detail on how to set this up and all that good stuff. I mean, that'll be another video. But anyway, ultimately, I don't say this very often, but it actually did very, very good. I mean, it actually rivaled my Mora in a lot of those aspects there, so I'm very pleased with it, and the edge is holding up brilliantly so far. So let's move on and see what else we can do. Okay, so moving on from light work, let's go into some medium work here. And I just found an old beaver chew that was behind me here in this wash. Now this thing is dead, but it is not rotted. Take my fingernail here. I don't know if you can see, it leaves a little mark, an impression there, but it is definitely not rotted. It's just dead. Okay, so this is definitely the part that I dislike doing, and that's just batoning and really heavy chopping with a knife. But for the sake of seeing if this knife can do it, I don't have a choice. So let's go ahead and see if I can chop this off about here, and then we'll split it up, see what we got. Definitely hard. Oh, how I hate doing this with a knife. Alright, so after doing that, see how thick that was. See what the blade looks like here. Zero chips. And I'll be honest with you, that thing still feels very, very damn sharp. Alright, so let's go ahead and split this up right quick. "3.5" blade. This is where it's going to be kind of limited on what you can baton and everything else, but let's go ahead and give it a try. Kind of went off course there. Alright, basically, you get the point. Batons that very, very well. still very sharp. After using this knife now for a little bit, starting to get the feel of it, and ultimately I now feel that I'll be able to feather stick better with it, just because, like I said, getting a feel for it. Alright, so I've been out here playing around with this knife now for a little while. And I can sit out here and I can feather stick with it. I can chop some medium-sized fuel, baton it, make components for traps. I made some decent sized slices for beef jerky, which has already been smoked and dried. Tastes quite well, might I add. Of course I cheated, I didn't do the primitive matter, I just stuck it in my dehydrator. Feeling lazy. But so ultimately, what are my final thoughts about this knife? Is it the prettiest knife in the world? No, it's not. The design is very, very innovative, and I really kind of like that design. It's very rough looking, but he asked me, did I want it pretty, or did I really care? And like I said, I really didn't care, because I planned on doing things like this with it. So if it was nice and shiny, it was gonna get beat up anyway. I don't really care for these G10 handles that much. The feel feels fine. I just don't really care for it. But he did mention that he is going to no longer do the G10. His and mine are the only ones that are going to have the G10, so I think that's actually kind of cool that I'm going to have one of the only ones that actually have it on there. But I guess, according to Joe, he's going to start doing my Carta handles. The width and everything else didn't seem like it was a big issue when it came to doing the light work or anything like that. And the blade held up very nicely. Now, is it hair popping sharp? No, but it is hair shaving sharp still. Wind's blowing it away, and it's not taking it off in clumps, but it's still taking it off, guys. I mean, this thing is still very sharp. Still bites into my nail really, really well. And there's still no nicks or chips or anything like that. You know what, I know it might sound a little biased because everybody knows I like Joe, but I really think he did a good job on his first design. This thing feels really, really well, and I think most of you guys know by now that I'll tell the truth. If I don't like what it does or how it handles, I'm going to tell you. And I have no negative things to say about this knife. It handled itself really well. The edge holds up. So ultimately, I really like this knife. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. If you guys are interested in a knife like this, you can look me up on my Facebook group at Wolfe Customs. That's WOLFE Customs. And I will put you in contact with Joe, or you can look him up directly. His name is Joe Hunnicutt. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. As always, guys, have a good one.